Hello and welcome to the Working Tools Masonic Podcast. Today we'll be continuing our conversation with Right Worshipful Brother Dick Auty of the British Columbia Cancer Car Program.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our opinions and thoughts are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions, either here on YouTube or on our Facebook page. We'd also appreciate a thumbs up and especially any comments on our videos.
I'm Matt Appel, and I'm a member of a lodge here in the Grand Lodge of Washington. And today with us we have David Colbeth, who's also a member of a lodge here in Washington, and Steven Chung, who is up in British Columbia. And Steve, why don't you introduce our guest for the evening?
And I get the pleasure of introducing our Right Worshipful Brother Dick Auty of St. George's Lodge here in Kelowna, British Columbia. And welcome back, Dick. Thanks for making the time to be here.
Thank you. I don't have audio. Have you?
Oh,
There was. I think Steve cut out just a little bit for a second there, but we're all back.
Okay.
excellent. So when we left off last time, Dick, we were talking about the challenges, and that was educating. You were saying the riders, which leads me to ask the question: how does somebody know about the program? Does the Cancer Center tell them about it, or how does that happen? Is there a pamphlet that can be handed out with their information package or something?
The Cancer Society has always been responsible for the publicity. They do include us in all of their handout pamphlets. They're on their website. We are listed in the telephone books under the Canadian Cancer Society. The Cancer Clinic very often recommends or offers to their new people that we would be able to help them get back and forth for their treatments. And once they are put in touch with us, then we take over and explain the program, the ins and outs of it, whether or not we can help them depending on their physical abilities, where their location, and whether or not we service that particular area where they live, or if we explain to them that we could maybe get them here, but they would probably have to stay during the week. There's a cancer lodge where they can stay overnight. There are a number of motels, bed and breakfasts that offer very good rates for medical patients. And we don't go to doctors' offices and leave our card. We basically leave it to the Cancer Society, and the Freemasons also have a website which explains the various options. We now in the jurisdiction have a 1-800 telephone number, which gives you the option of speaking to whatever area of the province that you're particularly concerned about, and then the dispatcher can take over from there and ask the necessary questions, see whether or not the individual is suitable for us to be able to assist.
Speaking of ways of contacting you guys, could you share the website address and 800 number and other methods for people to contact, maybe for volunteering or for inquiring into the services or even donating?
Okay, you caught me off guard on that one. I'm sure that the Canadian Cancer Society would have a website that would be very easy to get at. Our telephone number in the jurisdiction is toll free 800-299-0188. And that then gets you to options of 1 for Vancouver, 2 for Vancouver Island, 3 for the Okanagan, or 4 for Prince George. And once that option is chosen, then it gets you through to the particular dispatch for that particular area.
That's fantastic. So in BC, the Grand Lodge website is freemasonry.bcy.ca. For those who want to go there and find any information, there is information and links on about the Cancer Car program there, and I'm sure there's also got to be some contact information and links there if you are interested in donating either time or money or vehicles or services. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you.
And Steve, there's also a link on the Canadian Cancer website, cancer.ca, under their support services section in the volunteer driver program. The Freemasons Cancer Car program has a link in there as well.
That's awesome. That's really good. And so is BC the only place that has a program like this, Dick, or do you know of other jurisdictions that do something similar?
There are some other programs. Ours actually, I think, was patterned after Manitoba, where they have very limited access. They have Winnipeg, I believe, is the only cancer treatment center, and they have, again, a very large geographical area where it's just not possible to put vehicles out in the area. But I believe they do run west from Winnipeg over to Brandon and so on. And in Ontario, there has been a program, but I don't believe they use purchased vehicles. I believe they use their own vehicles. So certainly there's been much interest from all of the other jurisdictions as to the success of this program. But I'm not aware of any that have actually come to fruition.
Very interesting. But I'm pretty sure that you guys have a pretty good model built that if any one of them other jurisdictions wanted to emulate the program, I'd be happy to help them get started.
Well, the amazing part of the program is the financial end of it. It is totally volunteer. There is no administrative costs. Any work that is done through the Grand Lodge office is done as part of their normal routine. The chairman for the province at this moment is situated in Vancouver, and he deals with committees such as mine in the Okanagan or the other two areas, Prince George and Vancouver Island. Again, there's no travel expenses. There's no meeting expenses. It's strictly volunteer, our time, and where necessary, our funds. It amazes people truly that we can do this on a totally volunteer basis. And so we do get donations from riders and say, you know, I could not have come from Kamloops every day for 35 treatments, and I'd like to write you a check for $500 just to show my appreciation. This all goes towards helping us maintain the program.
So you said you have a number of cars in different areas. How many volunteers does it take to keep those cars moving? Is it
Well, in the Okanagan specifically, I indicated we have about 200 volunteers. This means that in the Kamloops area, a person might drive once a month. And the same in Penticton. We have fewer drivers in Vernon. Maybe they drive every 3 weeks. In Kelowna, we have drivers who volunteer twice a month and more when I'm short and beg them a little bit. We have 10 dispatchers, 2 a day, 5 days a week. Person works every Monday morning, every Thursday afternoon, whatever, and I fill in where necessary, and others are more than able to fill in when I'm really short.
Wow, and that's all, like you say, the volunteer side. You got to have some idea what the eventual budget is to run the program. The financial budget for the
financial budget.
the whole program.
Budget is presented each year to the annual communication of our Grand Lodge, and that budget has been gone over and approved or modified by the Finance Committee of Grand Lodge before it goes to the annual communication with the recommendation, usually from them, that the final decision that they come up and agree with is passed. It's very normally. We're talking about $375,000 a year in operating expenses, plus the capital of replacing probably 4 vehicles each year. We replace the vehicles about every 4 years, so it works out to 4 a year. We don't get any deals, particularly on vehicles, because we really are not a big enough operation to get the attention of any particular automotive manufacturer. But we have all found our various little places where we can talk turkey with certain people, and we generally buy new because of the number of kilometers that we put on in a year. We have purchased a few vehicles in the last couple of years from rental outfits, where at 35 or 40,000 clicks, they put them on the market, and we turn around and put another 200,000 clicks on them. So yeah, it's a rotating basis. We're forever replacing vehicles.
It's interesting too. I was reading on this the cancer.ca, the Cancer Canada website, that apparently in 2015 they had to close down their volunteer driver program. Unfortunately, it was a hard decision, but again, prominently the Freemasons Cancer Car program is indicated on here. Is, one of the questions, will the Freemasons transportation program be canceled? And big no, of course. The Freemasons will continue to operate on Vancouver Island, BC, Prince George, and the Southern Interior. So what a testament to the program, Dick. That is amazing.
Well, of course, the testament was that they were paying 45 cents a kilometer to their volunteers to drive people in areas where we do not service. So it was not truly a volunteer situation, but it was costing the Canadian Cancer Society in BC and Yukon Division between $400,000 and $500,000 a year. Our program costs the Canadian Cancer Society basically nothing. They have agreed, they do now supply us with computers, communications equipment, and lunch for the volunteers. That's it. I shouldn't say that. We work in their buildings as a rule, so we get accommodation for our office.
Are there any plans to expand the program, or?
No. Initially, our promise was that we would complement their program, because they had the volunteer driving program long before 1988, but we would not take over what they were currently doing. So when they stopped everything, of course, they said, well, now we need you in these areas because we aren't doing that anymore. And we said, no, that's not possible. We could not provide the volunteers or the vehicles to begin to cover those additional areas. What we did say initially was that as you built cancer clinics, we would look at programs to assist people to get to those cancer treatment areas. And we have kept that our bargain. We opened in Victoria, we opened in the Okanagan, and we've opened in Prince George.
And there's not really much left of the province that really isn't covered at that point.
Well, the East and West Kootenays, of course, are totally underserviced by the Cancer Society as far as the treatment center, because for all it's a large geographical area, there is not the population to support it. And for many years, East Kootenay people generally were sent to Calgary for treatment, an agreement with the Cancer Society in Alberta, because of the distance was so much less. And the transportation to Calgary, private transportation, was much easier than trying to get to Vancouver or to Kelowna. But that's up to the Cancer Society to decide if and when they are going to cover the Kootenay area. That is the one underserviced area at the moment.
Well, here's to hoping it gets them the care that it needs. And any other good questions from the South?
Well, I do want to ask about something pretty unique, pretty special that happened to you, Dick, just recently. You got to meet or were in the presence of the Governor General, Julia, just recently. Can you talk about that experience?
How did you find out about that?
We have our ways.
Right. Well, very simply, a couple of my dispatchers, who obviously I didn't keep busy enough, had time to nominate me, and I was awarded the Governor General's Soverign's Medal for Volunteers. And it was presented to me at Government House in Victoria by the Lieutenant Governor on behalf of the Governor General.
That's pretty cool.
That's great. Congratulations.
Well, there were 44 recipients that day at Government House, and I'm sure every one of them was equally as deserving as I. And again, it's a situation where you're nominated. I was very humbled by it, and didn't stay mad at the dispatchers for very long.
It's always amazing when someone just does what they do without thinking about themselves and about an award or whatever. And it's always fun to be in their presence when they hear about it, or the humbleness. And I can see that in you. You're much too humble to talk about it. And it would be neat to know. I don't know, Steve, if you know about that award program. I'm sure it's a very distinguished award program in Canada. And if we knew a little bit more history on that award program, it would be neat. I'm sure it's an amazing opportunity for someone to receive that.
I'm sure it is.
I had never heard of it before.
I had never heard of it until I heard that Dick was being honored with it. The closest thing I got to hearing about something like that recently was when Very Worshipful Brother Colbeth was given the Legion of Honor in their local PMLA chapter down there.
That didn't come from and so I apologize that I don't know my geography and my governments, but so your Governor General, is that like the governor of our state, or is that a higher level?
That is
position?
A representative of the Queen.
Of the Queen, okay, so it's a national representative.
It's a national award. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's more like a senator kind of thing.
I'm not sure that you have a similar position, but because we are, the Queen of England is still the Queen of Canada. She can only be one place at a time. he or she, and as a result, there is an appointed representative, appointed by Canadians, but as a representative of the Queen. And for
Okay.
example, if the Prime Minister wishes to prorogue Parliament or to call an election, he must go to the Governor General. Like she is above Parliament, right? And so she is the only one that can deal with that type of situation. I'm sure she didn't make this appointment personally. She has a few people who work for her.
Well, that is significant then. That's not, that's, I mean, in reality, it's a global award, Dick. That's amazing. That is amazing.
Well, I would say very humbled by it. You don't do these sort of jobs for recognition or award. You do it because you see a need and you feel that you have the tools to perhaps guide the program along and to encourage, to help volunteers out, get more volunteers. We don't solicit donations, but if we're asked about donations, I can certainly talk the talk and have made many contacts over the years where people come back and say, hey, you know, I see in our books we donated $1,000 to you 5 years ago. Could we do it again? And I say, yes, absolutely, you could. And they're happy, I think, to contact somebody who has been there for a while and can explain the program and to communicate with them on that basis.
Yeah, it's amazing that those people get the opportunity to give back and support a system like that, because you know, giving back is one of the great things, great rewards of life.
Well, I've been very fortunate. I've been there over 21 years since the first two vans in the Okanagan rolled into town on I think it was the 25th of August, 1998. And so say worked with a whole ton of very wonderful volunteers, had great communication with the cancer patients, with the people in the Cancer Lodge, who again are all volunteers, and the people in the Cancer Clinic who make everything work over there. And it's, yeah, I enjoy going to the office every day. Every day is a little different. And hopefully at some stage we can close the office and sell the vehicles and retire. But in the meantime, it's I've always got an office to go to if my wife needs anything done.
And I think it's important what you said there, that I mean, not just for this program particularly, but Masonry in general, you saw a need out there for something that needed to be done, that way that you could help your community and you could improve things in your area, and you went out and did it. And that's on a level, a large part, that's what Masonry is about, is giving us the tools to go out and to accomplish these things and make the world a little better place. That's a great thing. Well,
we certainly hope so. And that, of course, was the original intent of the program. And all of us as volunteers hope to carry on that mandate.
As we come down to about the last 5 minutes or so of the recording, this is like your opportunity to give a big commercial or any big message that you want to spread about the Cancer Car program. This is your forum if you've got anything in particular you want to share.
Well, certainly being a volunteer-driven operation, we're always interested in talking to potential volunteers. In the Vancouver area, they're always looking for computer operators and dispatchers in the dispatch office. They're always looking for volunteer drivers. In the other areas, we're in pretty good shape, but again, volunteers get older every year. We have recent volunteers who are snowbirds and who are not available to us from November to March. So it requires a little bit of shuffling here and there. They have lives, and we like to be part of their life, but we realize that they have other concerns. So you can never have too many volunteers. And if somebody happens to see this who knows of a cancer patient who we might be able to help, and again, there is the 1-800 number to contact any of the dispatch areas to see whether or not we can deal with their situation.
That's awesome.
Give you that number again. It's a 1-800 number, toll-free number, 800-299-0188.
Well, we certainly appreciate you coming on here and sharing the knowledge that you have about this program and your years of experience with our listeners. We really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do that.
Very happy to be here.
Yes, Dick. Yes, Dick, we really, really appreciate it, and I'm so happy to have finally met you. Hopefully, I'll be able to get up to BC. Maybe we'll go to your annual communication, and we can shake hands and break bread.
That'd be wonderful.
All right. Well, thanks again, Dick, for being a part of our program today, and thank you all for listening to the Working Tools Masonic Podcast. Have a good week.